if we want to do this and do it well, which we
Yeah.
don't, the U.S. government has no appetite for doing this well. They just don't. Okay. And yeah, anyway, I've talked to Congress people, senators. They just don't. If it gets them elected, they're happy, and then they just don't give an F. Anyway, it's pretty funny. Anyway, back to the girls. Let's talk about women's rights. You had a conversation. I recall this. You had a conversation with those farmers, and you said, well, what about the daughters? What can we do for daughters? And the one guy who loved his daughter said, if you want my daughter to be able to learn to read and write, you first need my son to learn to read. Right. And what he's getting at is this is generational. This is what I harp on. The 1-year tour, it's not going to work, right? It's a 50-year fight. This is at a minimum a 50-year fight. And if you're going to do one of these things, you got to agree somehow. There's got to be structure where we're agreed to. We're in for 50. We're in for 50. That's what. And then the Taliban will just go, okay, cool. We just got to chill for 49 years. But anyway, because action, reaction, counteraction.
Right.
Anyway, the moral of the story is you got to be in for 50. But it's a generational fight. And when you're dealing with a conservative rural community, see, I'm being politically correct whenever I use these phrases. When you're dealing with conservative rural people, you got to convince. You're not convincing grandpa. It's too late. He has a worldview. You might convince the father one way or another, but the father's not going to assume risk for his kids on your behalf. He's not going to risk his kids' lives for you. We know about this with farming. We'll talk about farming later. So it's the grandkids you want to convince, and you're going to convince them with this.
Oh, yeah.
This is the winner.
Yeah.
You give them all one of these. This is the winner. They can learn to read and write on this. They can download apps on this.
That's right.
They can sneak peeks at all kinds of crap you want them to sneak peeks at with this. But it takes 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
And you can't do it with a 1-year budget. And DOD's like, man, I'm only budgeted for a year. So, true story. Colonel, last name by the name of Brown. I will not say his first name. I first bumped into him in 2005. In 2005, I was like, hey, what are you doing? He goes, I am building schools. And I went, what? He goes, I'm building schools.
Yeah.
He was a major. I'm building schools. Where? Everywhere. Why? Because I got a budget to build schools this year. He just threw schools down everywhere. Didn't care where they were. He didn't care if they built them on one side of the river, which actually caused the Klan on the other side of the river to hate the Klan on the side that got it, which created internal conflict. And they could have found a spot where everybody mutually agreed to build a school. No. Oh, and by the way, since he built a school on one side, all the teachers came from the other side, and they refused to cross the river to teach. Mm-hmm. So now we didn't have teachers. Didn't do any of that kind of network. I'm building schools. So he built schools. I bumped into him in 10. He was a colonel by then. Got promoted, lieutenant colonel. And I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, I'm closing schools. He goes, closing schools. No more money. Shutting them off. Yeah. And I was like, I said, do you really care at all that back in the day you were building schools and now you're shutting them down? He goes, I don't give an F.
Right.
But I retire in a year.
Yeah, it's true.
So there you go.
We built that schools whether they wanted them or not. We never never said where should it be. We never ever cared. And we always put our projects, our pet thing, female rights.
Oh, yeah.
Ahead of whatever's possible there. Hey, what's possible here? And one of the things in our paper is the commander's ethos undermines female engagement. The elders of that community, the tribal elders, they are the law. And if they aren't on board, you have no business engaging in female empowerment. And only when you've gone through this matrix and you understand what's possible, then you can engage females. But we don't do that.
That's not what Congress wants to hear, bro. Congress wants to hear. Here, okay, how many times has this happened to you? Guys, this is what happens. You're bopping down the bunny trail, minding your own business. You cruise through the embassy or you cruise through some headquarters by mistake. You never want to be there, but you cruise through by mistake. And you bump into the USAID guy or girl, and they go, hey, I have $4.2 million that I have to obligate. That means they got to get a project on a piece of paper up in an Excel spreadsheet to high con saying they're going to do this thing, to high command saying they're going to do it. I got $4.2 million and I only have 90 days to spend it.
Yeah.
Can you tell me where to build X? Just whatever X is, doesn't matter. And then you go, well, maybe you could get in a car, drive out and kind of look around and talk to some people. And then they're just, oh no, I can't do that. You don't understand. I can't do that. Just tell me where to do it. I could have put a hydroelectric dam in front of somebody's house in a desert and another one on the backside of their house in a desert and gotten both of them approved because aid was not going to go out and check and they had to obligate their money. And they were worried that if they did not obligate the $4.2 million in this fiscal year, in the next fiscal year, they'd ask for 20 and Congress would go, here's your 20 minus 4.2 million because you didn't spend the money we gave you last year, which means you're inefficient. So you need like a 5-year budget. So we have structural problems, Pete. We call them structural problems. You need a 5-year budget or a 10-year budget. Yeah. Right? Here's your chunk. Go do what you want to do with it. Once you're out of it, you're out of it. So you better be clever.